Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and today we have some incredible news for the gaming industry. So here I am, just cleaning up my kitchen, doing things like that, taking a break, and I'm scrolling through Twitter, and I see the Charlie Intel, who is a fantastic Twitter account as well as website, links to them down there in the description. They put up some interesting posts from a Bloomberg article in which Microsoft's CEO, Phil Spencer, was discussing with Bloomberg how things in the gaming industry are actually going to get better going forward. Here we have the first little tidbit. I'm not going to read the entire article out to you, but right here, Microsoft knew going into this that Activision has had a lot of allegations and things like that going on within the company, and Phil Spencer, they're aware of that. They're committed to making sure that doesn't happen going forward, and he believes that Activision can turn a new leaf. We'll have to see if it's actually going to play out. Here he says that he is not opposed to unions whatsoever, and that Microsoft will honor any unions that Activision has. We saw Raven Software, one of the first, I think maybe even the first gaming union that was formed. They're going to honor that, as well as any other unions that may appear. Also really good news. And here, for like the more average gamer, this is like the best news, right? Because while yes, the core problems at like the industrial level of the games industry, there's so much to discuss, there's so much to break down, and there's a trickle effect there where everything that happens at a surface level can make its way into your living room and make it so your games are worse as a result. But right here, I'm going to read this part out here where Phil Spencer, who pledged to make Call of Duty available for the rival Sony PlayStation for at least some period of time, said the idea of games made exclusively for one device, quote, is something we're just going to see less and less of. And he goes on to say right here, maybe you happen in your household to buy an Xbox and I buy a PlayStation, and our kids want to play together, but they can't because we bought the wrong piece of plastic to plug into our television. How many times have you guys heard me say you should not punish the player for picking the wrong piece of plastic? When you boil it down that way, and of course we're boiling it down to like its most simple terms, but the idea of like the console wars, the fanboy wars, things like that, I hate it. We're talking about plastic here. But continuing on here, we really love to be able to bring more players in, reducing friction, making people feel safe, secure when they're playing, allowing them to find their friends, play with their friends regardless of what device. I think in the long run, that is good for the industry. And maybe in the short term, there's some people and some companies that don't love it, but I think as we get over the hump and see where the industry can continue to grow, it proves out to be true. So Phil Spencer, the CEO of Microsoft Gaming, is out here saying, you know what, even though Microsoft is killing it right now, so much good is being said about the Xbox Game Pass and the hardware capabilities of the Series X and things like that. Like, so much good is coming from Microsoft right now, and maybe there's a bit of a bias here, maybe, but it seemed like, at least from like the fanboy perspective, when the PS4 was killing the Xbox One, Sony wasn't pulling any punches, man. They wanted to win the console war. Whereas right now, you can argue either way. I'm not here to fanboy on either one because I don't give a shit, but I'm just saying it seems like Microsoft is doing really well right now, and instead of trying to punch down on Sony or try to like further their lead, if you believe they have one or whatever, they're saying, you know what, console exclusivity is stupid. Sony, we should work together on this. We should make it so, these exclusives go away, and maybe we'll see a day where, God of War is played on an Xbox and Halo's playing on a PlayStation. Will that ever happen? I don't know, because those are like proprietary like licenses to Microsoft and Sony respectively, so maybe that won't ever happen. But having more crossplay, having more cross-platform, having all the different devices work together is the future of the games industry. I think it was a great thing. You can say what you want about Modern Warfare 2019, but it was a great thing when Activision finally enabled crossplay, and I'm sure they had to have help from Microsoft and Sony to make that happen. But way back in the day, you were an Xbox player or you were a PlayStation player. And if you enjoyed playing with nobody, you were a PC player, at least when it came to COD, because, COD on PC usually died, aside from, like, COD 4 and Pro Mod and things like that. But back in the day, there were two very distinct communities: Xbox fans, PlayStation fans. And that's where this whole idea of like, rah, 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 like my console is better, fuck PlayStation, fuck Xbox, that kind of thing. That's where it stems from. Because back when you picked your side and you went with it, even though more often than not, I would say people didn't pick because they had like this allegiance to Xbox, they didn't have this allegiance to PlayStation. I think they chose their piece of plastic based on what their friends had. I grew up on PlayStation. This is my like, we're gonna ignore like handhelds and stuff like that, but like my console progression was Sega Genesis, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, And then it came time when, 2007 COD 4 was out, it came time to get like an upgrade system. You would think I would go right to the PS3, but no, I went to the Xbox 360 because that's what my cousin had. My cousin was my best friend, and he was playing there. And my friend Tyler also had an Xbox. It was a no-brainer. I'm like, I want to play with my friends, even though I've only ever played on PlayStation. And at the time, that 360 controller felt massive compared to the PS2 and PS1 controllers. I didn't care. I wanted to go to where my friends were. And I'm sure the same is true for so many people out there. There's a couple mentally ill people, I'm sure, that just have this blind allegiance, like, oh, Sony, they're just like, they love Sony so much, and Sony doesn't even know who you are. But there's people that do that. Same's true for Xbox people. But at the end of the day, it comes down to where your friends are at. And typically, once people are settled in on a system, they probably just stick with it. When people went from the Xbox 360 and it came time for a PS4 or an Xbox One, probably people went with the Xbox One if they played on Xbox prior to that, because that's where their achievements are. That's where their friends list is. They know everyone there. And again, that's back before games were really cross-platform. And now we find ourselves in a situation where if games actually become more cross-platform and there's just not this big divide between what system you're playing on, games are actually going to be accessible to everybody, and consoles are going to have to actually outperform their competitors. They're going to have to squeeze in as much power as possible for as low of a price as possible, because if everything's cross-platform and exclusives and stuff like that aren't just carrying everything, Sony can't just release a PS5 that doesn't work with monitors. It works great on TVs. The PS5 could do 4K on TVs, but you plug your PS5 into a 1440p monitor, which a lot of people play on monitors nowadays, it doesn't work. They're in beta right now, and who knows what's ever actually going to happen. Stuff like that wouldn't happen if everything was just more unified and they had to actually compete based on the merit of their systems as compared to their exclusives and whether or not they're going to allow their players to play with people on other pieces of plastic. But guys, that is it for this video here today. Just some really good news coming in from Phil Spencer there, and it gives me hope. It gives me hope for the future of the games industry, and we need some of that, damn it. After the past few months, even going years, with all the allegations, not even just in Activision, but everywhere, like the games industry as a whole just has so many problems, like at a surface level. And to try to reverse all that and make the industry about fun games again, that sounds awesome. So I can't wait to see what's going to happen in the future. As always, I'll be here with you guys every step of the way as we learn more and as this story develops. But for right now, that's it for this short little video here today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave your thoughts and feedback down there in the comments, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.